welcome to Who Corner to Corner. I'm Jeff, and I'm joined as always by my good friend Paul.
Hello, that's me.
But Paul, we're not alone today, are we?
No, we are not, Jeff.
Paul's looking around him to check who's hiding in his room.
We have celebrity company, in fact.
We do. So we're joined today by Helen Goldwyn, who is famous for her work with Big Finish, amongst other things as well. Morning, Helen.
Good morning. Hi.
How are you?
I'm really good, thank you. It's lovely to be joining you for this.
Thank you very much for taking the time to do so.
Yeah. You've got a very professional setup there, Helen. Actually, you've got a pop filter and a cradle for your mic and everything. Anyone would think you did this for a living.
Yeah,
I know. Yeah, I've got. Yeah, I'll show you on the video. I've got this, and I've got. You can't see it, but I've got one of those noise dampening shields. And,
I need one of those.
Yeah, it does make a huge difference.
Yeah.
And this is my little office, which I've had for about a year now. So I'm quite lucky.
So I've just thought of another question. We'll get onto our main ones in a minute. But have you been recording in there during lockdown and all of that over the last couple of years?
I have, and in fact, we had the whole family over for Christmas, including
in that little room.
No, at the house. And we had a friend called Jen visiting as part of extended family. And she's a huge Doctor Who fan.
Yeah.
And I had literally just given her a box set of the 9th Doctor, the one that had been just released before Christmas. And then she was going to sleep in this room. And she came downstairs just after she got ready for bed. She said, I just got to ask, did you record 9th Doctor in that room? And I said, yeah. Is that going to be a problem? She went, I'm not going to be able to sleep. She's like, you had Christopher Eccleston's voice in that room. I was like, yeah, kind of, but...
Oh, brilliant. Oh, I love that. Yeah, I was in the company of excellence and everything else.
Yeah.
So, Helen, why don't you introduce yourself a little bit and tell us about yourself and what you do?
Well, so I always find it very difficult to describe what I am and what I do. I found a new word in recent years, a polymath. Apparently, I'm a creative polymath. So I
like
currently, most of the time, am directing and script writing and occasionally acting and doing quite a lot of voice work myself.
Yeah.
But in addition to that, I am a songwriter and a singer. And prior to that, I had a 25-year career in theatre and TV and radio as an actor and musical theatre singer. So, I'm a polymath.
Yeah, that's a good description for it. So that really is quite an extensive and varied career, isn't it, that you've had? So my next question was, how did you get involved with Big Finish? So, and how did you go from kind of stage and TV work to getting into the audio side of things? So kind of two questions in one.
Yeah,
lots of questions in one, really, Jeff. Let's be honest. Not lying about that. He does this, Helen. Don't worry.
People might have heard me tell some of this story before, but in essence, I didn't really fit into the theatre industry. I was too versatile for my own good. I was too kind of physically nondescript. You have to kind of be a very classic archetype of a type of kind of casting type, and I obviously was a character actor from very young, and nobody wants a 19-year-old character actor really, unless they want you to understudy, which is what I did loads of. I played small parts in the ensemble and covered all the leads. Like, my first job was in Uncle Vanya with Kenneth Branagh's company, if I could drop that little name.
Stick it in.
But I was 19 and I was understudying the 3 lead roles, all of which were completely different characters and ages. And that should have told me really what was going to happen. Carrying on. That was exactly what kept on happening. So when I got into the world of voice work, it felt such a relief and such a place of comfort, because it didn't matter what you looked like. It didn't matter how thin or fat you were. It just mattered that you could do the voices and play the characters. And I felt like I'd found a niche that was absolutely right for me. So when I did do my first Big Finish, I didn't even know what Big Finish was. I didn't know what a Doctor Who audio was. I just was invited by Barnaby Edwards, who was directing a script by Nick Pegg, to play this very small role in one scene. And obviously turned up and saw all these amazing actors around me, and Colin Baker, and and so it was very exciting. And then I wrote to Gary Russell emailed. Thankfully, email had started in earnest then, and because I always was dreadful at schmoozing, dreadful at doing that stuff that you have to do, networking. Oh, terrible! I hate all that. But I could do it via email, so I wrote to Gary, said, "Please, please, please, let me come back and do some more." And he very kindly kept bringing me in to play obscure aliens for the next few years. Took me at my word that I had no inhibitions. I didn't care about making a fool of myself. And then I got the Tomorrow People, and then I kind of got more and more ingrained with the company. So
you became part of the family.
Yeah, very gradually over 20 years.
I was just going to ask how long this has been over. It sounds like probably, from early days of Big Finish, really.
Well, I was in one of the first in Spectre of Lanyon Moor. That was my very first.
Yeah.
And I was in the first ones that Paul McGann ever did as well, Storm Warning and Sword of Orion. And I didn't understand the significance of any of it. Everyone was like, oh, we really want Paul on board. I was like, I don't even know what you're talking about. But yes, I'll play those aliens.
I'll do that. I'll wear that rubber costume. So except you don't have to because it's on audio, isn't it?
Exactly.
Yeah, you can be free.
No prosthetics.
It's interesting what you say there about I was going to say, the face fitting things. I've got a number of friends who are actors and presenters as well, and it is a difficult world, isn't it? And you go up for an audition, and it can literally come down between you and one other person, and then it's the height difference that makes it or something, which is it's bonkers really. And friends who've had a number of kind of big opportunities which they sadly haven't got, and it's nothing to do with the talent in the end so often, but doing the kind of I think it's important, like you said, being the polymath and having different strings to your bow within that same field. So presenting is kind of an extension of acting in a way, and then I've got friends who do that, and they've done voiceover work as well, and it's become quite lucrative. I mean, I had a actor friend, he was an American. And he bumped into his voiceover agent just randomly one day, and they said, "Oh, we must try and get you some more work." And then he said the next month he ended up busier than ever, and then in the space of a year he did more VO work and earned more money than he'd done with his acting work. And he said, "Oh, it's great. It's worked out really nicely for him." So it's not,
it's so random as well. It's so sort of. I mean, the one thing that I did get seen for, because I didn't get seen for the work that I wanted to do, I couldn't even get through the door for it. I got discarded before I'd even, shown them what I could do, because on the basis of my nondescript photograph, and B, my very eclectic CV, because I didn't want to be pigeonholed as any one thing. I wanted to be many things. And of course, as a casting director, they want someone they can sum up in 3 words.
Yes, yeah.
And I still don't think you can do that about me.
No, not at all. Looking at your website and your list of work and things, and it's so varied, but that makes for a rewarding job and a life, doesn't it? And every day is different. And
and I was trying to describe it to a friend recently who's in what I would call a normal job, and they were horrified.
Is there such a thing?
I know, they were horrified at the notion of the fact that I don't know what's happening from one month to the next. And I said, actually, the times where I get depressed are when I know what's happening for the next 6 months, because that's boring. I love it when there's a potential adventure around the corner. Like somebody will phone me and say, do you want to do this job? Do you want to go there? Do you want to try this? That's thrilling to me. And when that's not happening, that's when I get really petulant, like, oh, my life's really dull.
You get used to it, don't you? Like I wake up and I think, who knows what's going to happen today? Who knows what call or email will come in and what work will come about? And that's part of what keeps this interesting. And same for you and you as well, Paul. The process we go through might be the same in our point of camera, or you go to the sound booth, whatever. But the subject matter is different. And that's what keeps it, interesting and challenging. And
also learning. Like somebody asked me to give some advice to young actors the other day, and I said, just always be acquiring new skills, and not necessarily in the acting world. Like one of the best things I ever did was I went and did a 3-month administration course. Because I wanted to learn to touch type, and I wanted to understand how to use software programs. And that has been invaluable for me as a director, as a producer, as a training consultant, in managing my life. I couldn't have done it if I hadn't learned that. So always be acquiring new skills.
Yeah,
every day is a learning day, as they say.
Yes, it is.
So you were not a Doctor Who fan before you got involved with Big Finish, then?
I watched Doctor Who for sure.
Yeah.
But I'm not a fan of anything or anyone. I never have been. I've never had a poster on my wall. I've never been to a pop concert and screamed for someone. It just isn't in my makeup.
Yeah, no, that's
I
understandable.
admire things. I admire people,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I think that helps in terms of being a director and working with some big names as well. Because I don't care how famous you are. I couldn't give a damn.
Yeah, I was just going to say that it's
You have a real objective viewpoint, then, I suppose, don't you?
Yeah.
That's it, Paul. Yeah, it's an advantage in a way because for Paul and I, if we got asked to go do what you do, we'd be gibbering Rex, but we'd be professional,
Really good.
But it's you've got no kind of you're there to do the job and make it the best it can be, and to focus on it that way rather than with that kind of fan angle on it, I suppose.
But also, I suppose, having been an actor and having been an actor that had ability but couldn't get the breaks, and I know lots of actors like that who are amazing talents who just didn't get a break. So if you're someone that happened to have the right face in the right place at the right time and you've done the right preparation, good on you. But that's luck. What you do with it then is either admirable or not. But if you happen to be born looking amazing and you've got talent and then you meet the right people, then you've been very lucky.
Yeah.
And that's not something I admire. I admire if you do something extraordinary with that luck.
Yes, to keep on building from it and go from there. And
it's
it
what
doesn't
you do with your gifts, isn't it? It's the choices you make, the way you steer your life, the way you bring betterment for yourself and for those people around you, and
the contribution you make to everybody else.
Yeah, all of those things.
So tell us about the Big Finish projects that you've worked on, and I just thought it's a long list.
It is, isn't it? We've mentioned a few, haven't we? So you were there at you said you were there right at the start. I mean, those titles you mentioned, they're some of my absolute favourites. Spectre of Lanyon, Moor. That's the Brigadier, isn't it?
Classic.
I mean, Nicholas Courtney.
Yeah, and Doctor Who and the Pirates. Obviously, I was in that playing Sally, and I got to sing in that.
I love that one.
I mean, I just played. I think I've been in over 100 audio dramas as an actor.
Wow.
And I've definitely directed. I can't even begin to think.
Lots.
Lots and lots.
That list is massive, isn't it?
And I've written about 18 hours worth of produced audio drama as well. So lucky me. But yes, I suppose the ones that stand out. I suppose if I work backwards, really, I've had such an amazing time working with Christopher. Initially it was remote in this very room.
As we said,
and we did build up a great rapport, even though we couldn't see each other. And then for the next ones, we were in studio and everyone was in such a state of excitement because we were just coming back out of lockdown. And also Chris is I hadn't anticipated what a physical presence he is, what a charisma he is, because I'd seen him in Doctor Who and in other things, but I never kind of Google anyone, or I didn't read his autobiography or anything like that. I was just like, oh yeah, I'm working with Christopher Eccleston. And then I met him and I was quite bowled over by his presence and his charisma.
Really? Wow.
And we had such a great time. It was one of the most exciting, fun experiences I've had in the studio, and also because of the rapport with me and Chris, but also the people that want to work with Chris are amazing, and they're so excited to be there.
It's absolutely wonderful that he came back, and Paul, have you listened to the box sets?
I have started listening to them actually, and it's interesting what you were saying, Helen, about Chris's presence. I mean, I've never met him in person, but one of the things I think with all his performances on TV, he inhabits that space. He fills the space. He brings that presence on screen, and I kind of thought, is he going to be able to do that in the audio? But he does. You instantly get that he's there in that story, dominating.
Yeah. You can hear the joy in his voice doing it, and I just listened to the Macbeth one this week from the third set, and it's brilliant. And he it just really feels like he's been taken off screen in 2005 and brought into these brand new. It's been so
wonderful,
good.
Isn't it? And I had no expectation at all of being part of that. I just knew. I did ask David Richardson during lockdown. I said, have we managed to pin anyone down because of lockdown? And he said, no, sadly not. And then literally like 2 days later, Big Finish announced that Chris was doing them. And then David emailed me straight afterwards and apologised. He said, I'm so sorry for lying to you. I had to sign the NDA, I couldn't say. And then he said, do you want to direct it?
Even better, isn't it, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, it's such a big coup getting Chris back on because he was quite adamant he wasn't going to do Doctor Who again for the experiences he apparently had when he was filming it. He just left that behind. But to get him back in is, I mean, it's a big thing as a fan, because we're both big fans of Doctor Who, and to have him back in, to have any Doctor, any actor who's done the role previously coming back in is brilliant. And this is a big thing for Big Finish. The fact we had Paul McGann, and we still had Paul McGann and Colin Baker and Sylvester and Peter. All those guys are still seemingly enjoying what they're doing, and it's and it's thanks to you guys, the creative team and the family that you've got there who bring this stuff in, and it's more content than I can keep up with. To be honest, I've said this on the podcast before, but
it's a lot.
I love the fact it's still being produced. I think it's brilliant.
Well, I think you've hit on it there when you say family, and it is I think it is so distinctively different to other organisations that I've worked with, because we are all friends, and there's a profound respect that we all have for each other. We're all slightly geeky. I mean, you asked me if I was a fan of Doctor Who. No, I'm not, but I am a sci-fi geek in that I love sci-fi. I'll always pick sci-fi and fantasy over anything else on TV.
Let me just tick that box right here.
Yes. And we're slightly a bunch of kind of slight outsiders of the general industry, like I've described, a bit more intellectual, a bit more kind of interested in other stuff, and we've all found each other here at Big Finish. And obviously we've got Jason at the top and Nick Briggs, who are both just wonderful human beings who really want to do the right thing by everyone, and that's such a rarity to find.
Well, I think, like Paul was saying, the fact that so many actors and talents keep coming back to it all, they wouldn't do it if they didn't enjoy it. I mean, I was going to say about Chris, so he came back to do his first 4 box sets, and he's doing another set, isn't he?
It's all down to me.
Well, I was going to say, don't play it down.
Well done, Helen.
Because,
Thank you.
But, a big part of that must have been, his relationship with you and enjoying that process.
Yeah.
And
well, he did. He obviously was directed by, I think. Well, I know Barnaby did one set because I was acting in that one, and I think Ken Bentley might have done one. I can't remember, but yes, I mean, he's had a great time with everybody that he's worked with, and a big part of my job is to make sure that everybody has a great, fun day, even when we're under pressure, even when things are going wrong technically. I have to be the one that is like, it's all fine. Everybody's great. La, la, la. We're having a lovely time.
It's all fine. There's no problems at all. It's good. Everything's under control.
But very sweetly, at the end of the last set, Chris said to me, he said, I notice what you do and how hard you work to keep everybody happy and to make sure everybody is feeling confident and supported. And it's very rare for anyone to notice that and to let alone to comment on it. And I really appreciated that insight.
That's so sweet, isn't it?
Yeah.
I remember when it was announced that David Tennant was coming back, and I think there was an email that you could order it now, and there was a special kind of book set that they did. And I was pushing my son in his pram in the park, and I was just looking at my emails, and this thing came through. I was like, "Stop! I'm going to order this now." But,
everybody stop!
Stop right now.
But it was such a big thing that to get him back. And again, the same with Chris, like we were saying. So, it'd be interesting to see who else returns in the future.
Yes, I mean, I don't know what everybody's wish lists are, but I suppose the main thing is reputation counts for a lot. And even though we've lost our lovely lunches at Big Finish, which were part of our allure because of COVID,
yes,
we can't provide those.
We spoke to Bevnisha about her Big Finish.
We
stuff.
wanted the inside scoop on whether those Big Finish lunches were really that good, and no, they
legendary lunches.
They were amazing, yeah. But
I'm going to withdraw my application to Big Finish right now. I don't want to know.
So that's sad. But even though we've lost those, we're still enticing amazing people to come and work with us. And also because the scripts are so amazing. Our writers are incredible.
Well, that's it. I don't think people would, sometimes a job's a job, sure. But I don't think people would keep coming back if they weren't feeling the love from your side, from the fan side, and getting something out of it creatively themselves.
Yeah, of course.
So I think certainly for myself, I'm looking forward to Jodie starting it at some point down the line.
I think they have to wait a certain amount of years, don't they? Before they can.
I think so. Yeah,
probably in the contract, isn't it? I guess.
Yeah, because they just got 12th Doctor stuff now, didn't they? But not Peter yet. So
I mean, what's amazing is that there is work going on into the future. The fact that Big Finish has got the license going into the future, it's quite kind of mind-boggling, really, the potential of it all.
Yeah.
Although you do... Sorry.
Oh, I was going to say that, and being reassured to know that we're going to be getting more, more stories for years to come is great. Yeah.
Yeah. Problem is, though, sometimes if I'm asked to write a Doctor Who and they say, set it where you want, set it on any planet, make aliens, or do a historical, you're like, first of all, you think, there's too much to choose from.
Yeah. And
then if it's a historical, frequently I'll send an idea and they'll say, no, we've done that.
Yeah.
Do they have like on a TV show, you have like the Bible, which is all the kind of the history of the characters and things. They must have something like that to log all of these ideas and track arcs that the characters have had and things.
Well, I might be wrong, but I think there's just one woman at the BBC that has all that information in her head.
Wow.
And I'm pretty sure I've met her.
In her head?
Yeah, because we have to, obviously we write a treatment and then that gets sent off for storyline approval at the BBC. And this person, or whatever system they use, they have to work out if it aligns with all the existing stuff, canon, and then it gets approval or not. So there is definitely somebody at the BBC who I have met who is an absolute mine of detailed information about everything that's ever happened.
Some kind of mega mind, ultra
yes,
brain.
There is a mega mind, ultra brain in that role. Yeah,
Revenge of the Polymath Mega Brain.
Somebody's dream job, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah. So,
wow,
Helen, tell us a bit about the differences for you between writing, directing, and performing.
Well, certainly writing feels similar to performing. In that you're so invested in all of the characters. And I remember when I wrote Attagirl, my episode for Attagirl 1, and I had to, it's going to be a spoiler here, I had to kill off a character, basically. And I didn't want to kill her, but she had to go. And so I wrote this scene. And as I was writing the scene, I was weeping and weeping. And then I had to go and do the school pickup. I've just killed someone. I've killed someone.
On paper.
Yeah, but it's the same emotional connection that you have if you were acting it. I suppose because I am acting all of those characters in my head.
Well, you have to, don't you, to be able to write it? Yeah.
And then the directing is slightly different in that I just have to trust my instinct again as an actor and as a writer. It's a joining of the dots, isn't it? And as a kind of leadership consultant, which is what I did for some years as well. So I'm utilizing leadership skills and positive language dynamics, and trying to, because I would never say to someone that doesn't work, how you did it then didn't work. I'm always looking to say, well, that bit was great, and what we need to do is get that bit up to match it, or can you do it this way? I'm always trying to tell people what I want rather than what I don't want.
Yeah, it's a delicate line, isn't it, to keep someone's confidence up and not tell them that that wasn't up to scratch. It's
Yeah,
there's
'cause
ways
then
of
they're
wording it.
crushed.
That's
Yeah.
it. Exactly. Yeah.
It's pulling the talent from them, isn't it? You
Yeah.
know, coaxing it out, giving them the belief and the confidence to really go for it.
Yeah.
Because
Exactly.
they can do it. You know they can do
Yeah,
it.
you trust that you have to trust that these actors have gone through all this training and have this instinct and this desire to do it. And if they're coming up with a not great performance, it's
Yeah.
because there's something else going on. They are lacking in confidence, or they've misinterpreted something.
Yeah.
So yeah, you know, very occasionally I've had people who have not been strong at the start, and I've just said, "Yeah, that's sounding great." And here's how we can make it even greater.
Yeah.
Yes, that's it.
But yeah, somebody asked me the other day about
Yeah.
how do I approach directing, and everything I do is connected to music and musicality, because music is my first love. And just as a symphony has all these dynamics and quiet moments and, you know, fast movements, a piece of drama has to have dynamics in that way, and you have to be conscious that it can't all be on one level. It has to, where's the peak, where's the moment of tranquility, where's the intimacy, where's the big stuff. So you've kind of plot the dynamics in like that.
So my next question was going to be about, is it tricky writing for audio, because obviously there's going to be no visual to it, but then what we've just been talking about has made me think about, how is it acting for audio and covering all those emotions and things when, you know, there's no camera on and no one sees it? You know, it must be so tricky putting so much more into the words and the performance to make up for that lack of visual.
Yeah, I suppose in some ways it's incredibly liberating, because you don't have to learn the lines, so you're not searching for that. It's all fresh and spontaneous. It's all there on the page. Also, it doesn't matter what you look like. So I played a pirate the other day, and I was talking like that, you know,
Nice one, lovely,
grimacing, and you know, obviously I wouldn't be able to do that on film.
I don't know, the facial expressions.
Yeah, I was going to say, you've sold me there.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
So there's a freedom in that as well. You do whatever you need to do physically to get the right sounds out. But really, it's such an incredible landscape it's a dreamscape of imagination. So the more you can picture the scenario, and the more you understand the physical aspect of where that character is. So if they've been running, obviously, you know, the more you just picture it like a child playing and doing role play, the more thrilling it is. So that bit is easy, and you don't have to make eye contact with the other actors, and you very rarely do when you're doing audio. Right. It doesn't really matter, because you are in that space in your imagination.
But is that quite difficult as well, though? Because if you're not able to respond or bounce off other actors in the same way, does that have its own challenges?
I was going to ask, are you all together for the sessions? You know, is there one main Big Finish studio that people go to, or are things separate? I know obviously through lockdown they have been, but yeah, like Paul's saying, how does it work? You know,
generally, even if you're in a studio, so we've got several studios on the go, because
we've got several. Yeah, we've got loads of studios.
We've got loads.
Studios coming out. We've got studios down there, studios upstairs, studios downstairs. If you want a studio, just ask us. We've got studios. Yeah, but no lunch. Sorry, no lunch.
Yeah, we don't do lunches anymore.
You should go down to Tesco.
Studios, no problem. Because obviously sometimes we're recording 2 or 3 dramas in a day.
Yeah,
so, but at every studio, you have the fun of meeting in the green room, the common area, and then once you're in the studio, generally we're in the same space, but you're still in your own little space.
Corner,
It's quite rare that you feel that you have to look up and make eye contact, and it kind of doesn't matter, because I had a voice teacher in college once who said you can't lose truth from the voice, and as long as you know what your character is doing and why they're doing it, everybody else will hear that too. Everyone else will pick up on that. So you pick up on your cues in exactly as you would in filming or theatre. You just don't have that physical connection.
I must admit, I was kind of really getting involved in what you were saying there, because I was trying to put myself into this place where you can just focus purely on your own performance, you know, and that kind of pulls you into that arena. And I can just imagine the whole visual sounds a landscape just forming around you nebulously, but so involving. You know, it really comes through when you listen to these things.
I think that's why people love doing it, because you can focus on your own performance. You know, you have to be very generous on stage and be conscious of what the other actor needs. And actually, yes, you don't talk over somebody else's lines, but really you are more focused on your own journey in audio.
So like you said earlier, it's liberating. I hadn't really thought about it like that, but I can see the appeal to it, and that chance to just kind of turn up in your joggers and, you know, no makeup and prosthetics or whatever, and just go for it.
Well, if I can drop another name, I did one of the episodes with John Hurt shortly before he passed away, and he had obviously been quite unwell prior to that, but was sort of in remission at the time, I think. And he said, it's just wonderful to turn up and not have any lines to learn and to just act. You know?
Spontaneously.
Without all the paraphernalia of filming.
So you've worked with various doctors now. Do they all have kind of different approaches to things? Because obviously they know their characters now. So I suppose directing them and writing for them must be quite collaborative, because, you know, they can probably do it, you know, second nature, can't they? So
it's quite rare that you would need to give anyone any steering, any of those doctors. It's mainly any direction that I would give would be about, I think we've probably got a bit more noise in the background here, so raise the volume. Could we have a bit more breathlessness? Or, you know, when he punches you, a bit more of a oof. But that's about the extent of it, and absolutely fair game. You know, why would you be trying to direct any of those people where it's in their DNA now, you know? I think your doctor might do this.
I
don't think so.
That would be my doctor. Do you feel so sometimes, like when I'm out at work and I've got someone in front of the camera and they're doing a really great job, and I think I should probably give them some sort of direction here, but there's not much I can say because they're nailing it, and then I feel like I'm probably being really inadequate here. Do you feel like, you know, it makes it easier, doesn't it, in a way, you know?
Yeah, I mean, what I suppose I do, I said do. What I suppose I do sometimes do, and I'm never sure if it's appropriate, but I think it probably is for all actors, is that I'll say, that bit was great. I loved how you did that. You know, thank you for the energy you brought was so spot on. Because I think all actors need to hear that. And I think if you are very well established, you probably very rarely hear it as the years go on. But so I've worked with almost all of them. I think I've worked with all of the doctors now, either as an actor or a director, and of course they're all absolutely, it's ingrained in their blood.
So out of the different stories that you've done, which was your biggest acting challenge?
Acting
there's a question.
challenge.
And was it human or was it alien?
Well, I think I found Storm Warning quite tricky because I was 3 strains of the same alien species in that. So one of them was in that pitch and one of them was in the middle and one of them was down there. And then I had to have conversations with myself, and then everybody else in the other booth was laughing at me.
So you get paid for doing that. I get the piss taken out of me completely. He's doing it again. He's throwing himself again.
Paul's dream job, isn't it?
But I suppose in terms of challenge, gosh, it's so hard. I suppose Doctor Who and the Pirates was quite hard work. I was very scared of the singing because I hadn't sung for a couple of years when I did that, and that was like, a whole other side to me that Big Finish hadn't seen.
There's quite a lot of audio effects on a lot of the alien voices, aren't there? So how much? So I listened to the Creeping Death recently. And so how much of the alien voice is you, and how much of it is enhanced afterwards?
Well, I think people might be under the impression if you've got an effect on your voice that you don't have to do much, but actually it's really takes loads of energy to play an alien. Like the Silurians, the first time I kind of watched the old, original series Silurians, that was exhausting. Playing those because you have to do them, it all has to be from there. And yes, they're going to put an effect
I thought
on it.
Silurian was right in the room.
Yeah,
that's head wobbling and everything.
But if you don't give that energy and that kick behind it, or you don't, like, I can't remember what I did for Creeping Death, but I'm sure it was probably something that is quite strained or takes some sort of tension from the diaphragm. And those parts are actually really tiring.
Doing it repeatedly. It must be. So, what script did you find the most challenging to write?
Subterfuge. Well, Subterfuge, and also the script that I wrote for Star Cops. I really hit a brick wall.
I haven't listened to that one yet. I'm looking forward to that. I used to love Star Cops.
Subterfuge was tricky because it needed loads of research. I was given a set of prescribed factors to build in. So I had the monk, I had Churchill, I had to set it after the war for the election. Obviously, I had Sylvester's doctor. And so there were all these elements that I had to build in. It's like, so I had several lead characters, and that boggled my brain for about a week. I just sat in front of my desk and thought, I don't even know how to begin with this. And in the end, I just used a different tactic of post-it notes of events, things that I wanted to happen, the climaxes that I wanted to achieve. And then I worked it around that.
Yeah, that's quite interesting, because I was just listening to that one, actually. It is quite a cast of characters, and even though it's quite a tight cast in a way, it's the canvas seems really broad, and it pulls in themes from the kind of sort of spy thrillers of the time, and of course we've got Winston doing his thing, so and then you get this weird counterpoint where you've got like the seriousness of that kind of spy thriller genre with the ridiculousness of the monk and his kind of jolly jokes and everything else, and it's a mesmerizing listen. And then you've got a sci-fi element as well. You've got the thing with the the two stranded aliens and everything. That's a huge. I could just imagine now the number of post-it notes you must have had.
And it was like that. It boggled my brain. And actually, I had been to the Spy Museum in Berlin the year before, and that was what kind of inspired all of that. But I was really proud of how it turned out. But it was painful. Most of it's painful. Writing is painful. Yeah.
Was it one of those when you were kind of glad to see that it was done? Pleased with it, obviously, but glad now that it's done, it's out there, and the result is fantastic.
Oh, well, thank you. Yeah, I was glad to see the back of it.
I was trying to find a polite way to say that, but if you want to put it that way, it's fine by me.
Yeah.
Glad to see the tail end of that one.
We spoke to Bav recently about Time Jacked, which was a great adventure. So, what was it like working with her? And can you tell us if we'll hear more of Kira Sandstrom?
Well, I don't know. I genuinely don't know the answer to that question. But when I cast Bav in that series, and I did not know her Doctor Who connection. I basically I was listening for the right voice. I knew what the right voice was, and I went through loads of different actors. I listened to loads of demos, and then I struck upon hers. I thought, oh, yes, perfect. And then I looked up her CV and thought, oh, okay, so she's got a connection already. So I wasn't sure if she would want to do this character. And then I was delighted when we got her, and of course she's delightful,
lovely,
brilliant, so professional. She got on brilliantly with Jacob Dudman. They had great chemistry, and they had a lovely time together. They were at the studio, and I was remote, unfortunately.
She said that they were together, didn't she?
Yeah. And I think that's such a big part of it. If you've got chemistry like that, it really helps.
Yeah. So that goes back to what you were saying earlier about people's faces fitting, and they who they know and getting lucky and things like that. So I didn't realise that you hadn't known that Bav had done the show. So she was cast purely on her talent. And then the show is kind of, because initially I thought, she's done it because she's been in the show, and but it's obviously capable of it all as well. So it's nice to know it was purely on how good she is, and not just because of the
talent
show
comes first.
Yeah,
that's good. And talk to us a bit about Jacob Dudman, because his story, his journey is quite something, isn't it?
Very inspirational.
What can I say? I first met him, I think he'd just turned 19 when he started working for Big Finish. And everyone had said, like Nick Briggs had auditioned him and David Richardson, and they said, he's going to be a star. And I thought, oh, yeah.
Heard it all before.
And then I met him and thought, oh my goodness, he's just got it all.
Yeah.
He's got the whole package, and he's such a lovely young man, really wise, and got his head screwed on right, and really wants to. I think he will do something extraordinary with his inevitable fame.
He's doing a bit of TV, isn't he? Is that right?
I mean, he'll be, if he doesn't get into movies soon, I'll be very surprised. He'll be doing huge stuff.
I mean, listening to his I was going to say impressions, that's not really the right word, is it? But his impersonations of, the other doctors.
Characterization.
That's a more accurate word. They're so good. I mean, thank you. His Capaldi was absolutely brilliant. I mean, I was just completely lost in it, like it was him. He's got, the dramatic side of it as well as the accent and all the inflections and things like that.
More frivolous side as well.
That's what makes him, differentiates him really, is that yes, he's an impressionist, but he's an extraordinarily brilliant actor.
You can tell
he's the best I've worked with. It's so instinctive, not trained in the formal way that many people are. And he, after we'd worked together for a little bit, he emailed me and said, I want to really make a go of acting and I need an agent. And I was like, just send them your photograph. And I'm sure they'll all want you, regardless whether you've got all this amazing talent or not. So, I mean, obviously every agent that he contacted wanted to take
They all
him
wanted him.
And then the first job he got was starring in a BBC, teenagers TV series. So I think you'll be all right.
I think he'll go far. So Helen, you mentioned earlier about your theatre work that you began with. Tell us a little bit about that, because it's quite an impressive list of directors that you've worked with, isn't it?
Yes, I mean, I trained originally. I went to ballet school from the age of 12. I was at full-time ballet school.
Oh wow!
Right.
Yeah.
And then went on to the musical theatre course at the same school, Arts Educational, and carried on doing loads of dance, loads of singing, but really knew that I wanted to be an actor more than anything. So when you come out of a course like that, and I started working professionally when I was 19. People have preconceptions about you because you're a dancer in their eyes. So if you're a dancer, then you can't be a very good actor. There are all these sort of categories that you're put into, these pigeonholes that people want to cram you into. But I was very fortunate because my first job was with Kenneth Branagh's Renaissance Theatre Company. So that was understudying in Uncle Vanya. And then I just kind of had such a difficult time getting auditions. But I was very lucky in that the few auditions that I did get seen for, I always got one of them, so I managed to keep on working fairly consistently. But there were certainly periods in between where I was desperately unhappy and frustrated and felt terribly resentful about the way the industry worked. It was like, if I looked more conventional, there wouldn't be an issue. I would be through the door and my talent would then get me the part. But what I've realized in later years, and this has been quite an interesting journey for me, I'd had a DNA test and I knew I had a Jewish heritage, but I didn't understand that my ethnicity is Jewish. So my DNA came back as 90% Ashkenazi Jew, which is quite a big so I am white other. So I was obviously going up for parts that wanted Anglo-Saxon heritage, white people. And I thought I was in that category, but actually I should have been marketing myself as a good-looking Jewish person, rather than trying to be a beautiful Anglo-Saxon, a typically English person, which I clearly wasn't. So that's been quite a revelation to me in recent times. I thought, oh, I wonder if there was some subconscious discrimination going on there, that I didn't fit the mold and people didn't quite know why. And I didn't know why. So yeah, it's been a very strange journey. But then, as Steve Jobs said, you do these obscure things in your life and then eventually the dots connect. And that certainly happened with directing, and it happened with composing. And I remember thinking when I wrote one of my first songs and I was recording all the harmonies for it, and I thought, oh, this is why I've got this ridiculous 3-octave vocal range, which was completely pointless, in theatre, but it's totally useful if I'm recording my own music. So yeah, you do eventually connect the dots.
Yeah, things are sort of meant to happen sometimes, aren't they? And also you never know what will come from a meeting with someone, or a job you do, and how important it is to just basically be kind to people and be a good person, and that can pay you back in later life, and all that kind of thing.
I didn't know that first scene. I did one scene in Spectre of Lanyon, Moor, and I did not know that would lead to my big break of a career, really.
Yeah. So you've done quite a bit of work with Louise Jameson, haven't you?
Yes, I have.
Is she lovely?
She's one of my dearest, beloved friends.
Yeah.
Everything you imagine she is what she is. She's an extraordinary human being. Just one of my favorite people in the world.
Yeah. So did you write the show Pulling Faces, and she was in it, and
we devised it together. Right. I wrote the bulk of the script, and yes, and then obviously she took it on tour, and then we worked together in several different ways through Big Finish again, and obviously had a friendship then. And then Atagirl happened. Louise really was the one that insisted that I produced it, and I said, I don't want to be a producer.
Who wants to do that?
Yeah, that sounds like really hard work. But no, she and David Richardson persuaded me. And that was one of the projects that I'm most proud of. I think she and I together, we collaborate so brilliantly.
Did you win an award for it recently? Did I see that?
We got into the finals for both the Atagirl series, finals of the BBC Audio Drama Awards, which was just brilliant, amazing. So we were highly commended in that. And then we were in the New York Audio Publishing Association Awards, the Audies, for Atagirl 2, which was even more of an accolade in a sense, because we had 4 writers on Atagirl 1, and it was just me and Louise on Atagirl 2.
Right. Yeah.
So that felt like a real kind of pat on the back.
That's lovely. Yeah. So I've got a couple more questions, and Paul, you might have some as well. And then we've had some in from people on Twitter.
Okay.
So what are you working on at the moment? And I appreciate you probably can't tell us everything, so feel free to use code words.
Right. Okay. What I'm working on at the moment is a script for a series that has been, it's from the worlds of Doctor Who, but not Doctor Who. And I have found it quite difficult to get my head around the world of it. So that's taken me quite some time to come up with a storyline that works. And I'm also working on a series that I had directed, but now I'm going to be co-writing the next box set of that. And I'm also doing loads of voice work outside of Big Finish. So I've been doing lots of video game work. I was just in Dying Light 2 that's just been released.
Is that a horror one?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. I know the one. When you mean, yeah.
And doing quite a lot of corporate voice work as well. So that's been a nice new avenue of interest. So yeah, that's the main thing. And obviously loads of directing is coming up next month. Yeah. Loads of it.
So you sounds like you're kind of busy with something all the time. And I think, like I was saying earlier, when like for me, I direct and I camera and things, but I can edit as well. So I'm able to kind of, keep myself busy by being able to do that kind of breadth of stuff. And so some of the actors I know have gotten into presenting and then voiceover work, similar to you. And I, maybe you think the same, but it helps to keep you busy, doesn't it? Literally,
Oh, yeah.
because you're able to do more. So there's more opportunities. Yeah.
I think all actors, there's some kind of myth going around that if you've got a backup plan, then you don't mean it. You're not focused enough on being an
I've
actor.
heard this. Yeah,
Really,
there's no
no,
plan
no,
B.
no. Yeah, there's no plan B. That's fine, but you need a whole network of supporting financial opportunities around you. So I always said, at drama school, they should be teaching people how to do carpentry and plastering and electrics and hairdressing and nail, manicuring and how to do massage, because that's stuff that you could do on a flexible basis and supplement your income and still have time to go and do your real thing that you want to do. But if you don't have anything like that, you're really in a very challenging position.
Yeah. Yeah,
you're going to end up doing something soul destroying.
Well, that's it. So I used to fill pumps at Sainsbury's. What pump are you on? Have you got a Nectar card? All of it come flashing back. But and then you'd argue with people about a penny that had gone over on the pump. But
that'd be me. I'd be doing that.
Yeah, I can believe that. But I think you're right, Helen, because it can be really easy to get the fear of it all. And I haven't worked in entertainment, as it were, for a month or something, and go and get an office job, and then you're stuck in it.
You're stuck.
I've had friends who, they do the 9 to 5. Oh, I'd love to get into photography, but it's almost impossible as you get older to take that leap when you've got a mortgage or kids or whatever. And so I'm lucky that I got going with my stuff, in my early 20s. But if I wanted to do it now at the age of 25 as I am now, 20 odd years later, I'd never be able to do it. It's too risky. So
it's a privilege. It's a privilege to be able to work in the arts, and I totally get the argument about it being elitist, because regardless of my background is, my mother was the daughter of immigrants, German Jewish immigrants, and my father was a Barnardo's boy. He was in social care all his childhood. So it wasn't a very auspicious background, but they were both professional, they were teachers, and we had a reasonably comfortable life. But I knew, however destitute I was as an actor, and I was seriously destitute many times, there was a safety net there. So that was my privilege, to be able to keep going. If I didn't have that safety net, I couldn't have done it. So that's why people from working class backgrounds it's too dangerous, to slip down and fall down and not be able to get back up again. And anyone who has the privilege of a stable financial family background, where you will be rescued if you're really desperate.
It really gets down to it.
Yeah, if you don't have that, you're at a massive disadvantage.
Yeah, I think you're right. And, having a job that offers you the flexibility as well, because an audition might come up, it's tomorrow at 9 o'clock. Well, if you're in the office,
the boss says, no, we've got an important sales and marketing meeting tomorrow morning.
Exactly.
You've got to be there, chap.
But when I, probably about 15, 16 years ago, I wrote to all the local businesses in my area, and I said, I'm a brilliant administrator. I can sort out your filing system. I can get everything, nice and clear for you, and do telephone calls and all of that. All I ask in return is flexibility, because I am an actor and I want to go for auditions. And I wrote these letters and I didn't hear anything back. And then a year later, I had a phone call from a woman called Deborah, who had a PR business locally. And she said, yeah, I'll employ you. So I did 3 days a week with her. And if I had an audition, I'd say, can I come in on a different day? She'd go, yeah. And then she became my best friend ever. We're just best buddies. We've been through everything together. And, I think there is the capacity to create an ideal scenario for yourself, as long as you've got confidence in what you can bring.
Yeah, and you have to work at it a bit as well. But you can do it. And also you just never know what will happen. I've had things like that where I've emailed someone, don't get a reply. And two years later, you get, oh yeah, just picking up on this again, and I'm reading the email thinking, picking up on what? Oh yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's the other top tip I would say, because I worked at Roleplay UK, which was a corporate roleplay company for a few years when I first became a mum, and I was in charge of recruitment, and obviously we got inundated with actors who wanted to do roleplay because that's a good supporting job for acting career. And we never needed new people. Our books were full, which is often the case with theatre agents. But the people that wrote repeatedly, just succinct, just checking in, seeing if you're recruiting, just checking in. Eventually, they were the ones that we would go, oh, we need an extra person in London and we don't have anyone on the books who's free. I know, there's that girl who kept on emailing.
Because you remember them.
I have to say that is so important.
You've got to, even if you don't hear back, you've got to write 6 times minimum before your name starts embedding in the other person's mind.
It's so true. Again, I'm in a similar place to you there, Helen. I put out for a lot of freelance work. And I honestly, I get inundated with all kinds of applications. And I'm really glad you're saying that you didn't hear from somebody for 2 years, because I think I've got 2 years worth where I haven't actually got back to anybody, but I need to.
Now you feel better.
But the thing is, the people I have got back to and the people I have sort of brought in are those people who constantly chase me up. And they're saying, have you read my CV? Have you done this? Can I just, reintroduce myself? Have you? And it's, I don't mind those things. I love it because you're right. It does put them at the top, and I would echo that to all young people. If you want to chase something, be persistent. You don't have to be obnoxious or anything like that. Believe in yourself, have the confidence to push and push and push, I think. That's my little life advice there. It doesn't come through often, but we're early, aren't we? It's not even, is it about 11 o'clock?
Yeah, nearly 11,
isn't it? It's my peak. I peak at this
time.
He's going to go sleep for a bit now.
Recover.
I'm not quite sure how to follow. That was quite an inspirational little moment we all had there.
Well, it's a thing I love about all the fabulous, beautiful celebs that we've had on, Helen, is that you all tell us about your experiences from the inside. And I think what really resonates with a lot of our listeners and me and Jeff as well is the fact that we all start out as ordinary people. We just like everybody else, we have hopes and aspirations and dreams, desires to do a certain thing. We have setbacks, we have failures, we're rejected constantly. Where the favorite thing we'd set our hopes and dreams on sometimes just doesn't happen because as you say, you might not just look the part in a casting director's eyes, but there's always another opportunity. There's always something, but you have to work at it. I think that's the thing. You
can't wait for it to land in your lap, can you?
I would say every inverted commas failure in my life, and there have been many, many of them, has been a springboard for me. Because my process is always, I'll be devastated for 2 days and think, why did I put myself through that? And then I'll become full of rage about the injustice of life. And then I'll think, right, well, I'm going to make this happen now. I'm going to do this. And often the thing that you make happen out of rage or frustration or just this tsunami of creative energy that was always in me, frustrated energy, those are the things that give you by far the most satisfaction and reward.
Looking back on things now, how your career has turned out, is there anything you would change, or do you think, no, do you know what, that's brilliant, I love where I am, I love how I got here? Or is there any kind of little burning regret somewhere and something you didn't do or that you would change?
I love where I am, I love how I got here. I feel incredibly lucky, especially during COVID, to be in an industry that was still producing stories. I do have regrets. I regret that I didn't have more confidence in myself as a physical entity. I was so fixated on the aesthetics. And actually, I think if I had just gone in the room with more belief in myself, I believed totally in my ability. I knew I was talented. I just used to walk in and think, oh, they're going to be disappointed with how I look. And I was good looking, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
I just knew I didn't fit the mold. I was very acutely aware of that. Having grown up in ballet school, it was all about aesthetics. It was all about faces and bodies and, what you look like. So I am sad about that, but, and I wish I'd started writing earlier. I knew I could write and it seemed too easy. I was so used to everything being a struggle, and people would ask me to write stuff for them and I'd rustle something up and go, yeah, there you go.
Maybe so wow, that's fantastic.
Yeah, I denied that natural flow of energy. I was in denial about it. Like, that's too easy. It can't be that. Yeah. That can't be the thing I'm supposed to be doing. It's all supposed to be a battle, isn't it? So when I finally started accepting that I was a writer, that felt very natural and correct, and it just took me so long.
And is that a confidence thing again, do you think? The fact that you produce a piece of writing and you think, well, it's just what I do. It's not brilliant or great or anything. But...
I think it was more that I was so, the ambition I had as an actor was so overwhelming and all-consuming. My father summed it up well, I think, when I was in my mid-30s. He said, you're like a drug addict. He said, when you get what you want, you're on a high, but you're still not quite satisfied. You still want something else. He said, and in between, you're on this desperate low where you're craving this high, and then you get it and it's not quite what you want. I was never fully satisfied. So that was a real shock to me. I thought, oh yeah, you're right. This isn't very healthy.
That's probably why routine is kind of anathema, though, isn't it? In a way, the idea of a 9 to 5 or something, and some people love it. My eldest daughter, she loves a routine. I don't. I despise the very idea of routine, and and so does my youngest daughter. My wife again loves a routine. It's right. There's a dividing line between the family, but actually between us, because if it was left to me, no chance, nothing would ever get done because there's no routine. Whereas actually we need a bit of process, a bit of structure to kind of bring things into line. So it's nice that we have that.
Well, I found that very difficult when I became a mum. I was trying to find other mums to connect with, obviously, ideally creative and a bit quirky, like me. And I would go to baby groups. They have these mother and baby groups.
Yep. Yes.
And then I'd chat to people and they'd say, are you coming next week? And I would think, what? You're coming to the same group? You're going to do it twice? Yeah. Like, you come every Monday. God, that's
a whole bunch of other people in another group at a different time and eat and drink different things.
It just didn't come into my thinking at all. Well, I would go every week to the same group and meet the same people. No, I don't think so. It was a lonely time, those early years.
Yeah. Well, she doesn't come to our group.
Yeah.
Talking there about having some sort of a structure to things and being organised, it makes me think about the number of people I've met over the years who have none of that. And we work in a job that isn't 9 to 5, but you still have to be like being able to pick up the phone. And I phone people whose voicemails are like, please leave a message, I'll try and get back to you. I don't want you to try. I want you to succeed using your phone.
Do not, there is no
try. Yeah. And then they phone back 2 weeks later. I'm just phoning up about that shoot. Yeah, that happened last week, mate. It's gone.
Yeah.
And they don't reply to emails or things like that. And
that's the creative excuse. The excuse of the creative is that I am too busy being creative to do the
to function properly.
The routine stuff, and that routine stuff does not come naturally to me at all.
No,
but I worked really hard to acquire those skills because I knew they were necessary.
Yes, because also a lot of people, like Paul, when we work with kind of corporate clients, in our stuff, they're doing 9 to 5. And so they need you to be available in that window, and you can't just be like, hey, phone me at 11 o'clock tonight. That's when I'll be working. It doesn't work like that. So you do have to kind of, bend a little bit to fit into.
I think what it is, it's a difference between a kind of ongoing mindless routine and a sense of discilline within it, like a self-discipline that you have.
You don't have to sit into that, 9 to 5, do you? But you have to have some sort of self-discipline, to be able to make it all work. Yeah,
and a system. You You can't just hold it all in your head. I can't hold it in my head.
No.
Although there is that mega brain at the BBC who does hold it all in her head.
She's got it. She's got it all.
I'd love to meet this person.
They're going to have to get. They're going to have to get that out, aren't they?
Yeah, the mythical person.
Yeah, like the.
We're going to have to get mega brain on there. On the podcast.
Yeah, I have to find out who this person is.
And I apologise because I know she'll have a lovely name and everything. Yeah, it'll be fabulous.
Is the job title
who she is?
Doctor Who Mega Brain?
If it isn't, it should be.
It should be. Yeah,
should
I agree.
Be. Absolutely should be. And polymath. I'm going to take. There's one word I'm going to take away with me today. Polymath. I'm going to put it on my business cards.
There you should.
Yeah.
Give you that one.
Revenge of the Polymath.
Well, my next question was going to be what would be your dream Big Finish project? But I think Paul's just done it. It's Revenge of the Polymath.
Revenge of the Polymath. I'll write that for you. I won't even charge you for it. It's fine.
I would like to write an original comedy. I'd quite like to write a comedy sci-fi series. I think we could do with a bit more of that at Big Finish.
Totally agree.
But it wouldn't have to be sci-fi. I did think about like almost a soap opera set on a cruise ship, because I met my husband on a cruise ship.
Oh right.
And the stuff that goes on, you wouldn't
believe it. I could open a few eyelids, that's for sure. Governor.
Yeah, so something like that. I'd quite like to write an ongoing, almost like a sitcom.
Oh, like Triangle or something. No, not Triangle. That wasn't a cruise line. That was a ferry.
2.4 Children. There you go.
Yeah. Yes, that kind of thing. Yeah, brilliant. I'd love to do it. I was trying to write comedies actually, but it never comes out very funny. So,
that's a fatal flaw.
Funny
in the
to
plan.
me. I laugh like a drain when I read this stuff. Give it to anyone else.
I went and I did a comedy course with. I can't remember her surname. A comedy writer called Gronya something or other. She writes for Newsjack and lots of Radio 4 stuff, and she basically did a 3-day course on the nuts and bolts of the science of comedy.
No way, there's a science.
And it was like the doors of perception opening in my mind. Like, on the first day I was like, oh, of course that's how it works.
What it is. Yeah.
So those courses are out there, Paul,
workshops. I have to get myself involved in one of those. Yes, I'll be on it.
So I've got a couple of questions here from some of our Twitter followers. So
thank you, followers.
Yeah, thanks everyone. So this is from our friend Cooper Hillier, all the way from Australia. Well, he sent us a message in our chat group, didn't he, Paul? He said, "Can I ask 2 questions?"
Yeah, and I said no. You can't ask 2 questions.
You can't. But he's asked 3, in fact.
Oh, go for it. 3.
So we might have sort of answered one of these, but his first question is, what was your personal favourite project that you worked on for Big Finish? I'll let you answer
Atagirl. It's a close tie between Atagirl and working with Chris on the Ninth Doctors. They're probably on a par.
So when he said, who's your favourite Doctor or other character to write for?
To write for? Ooh.
Interesting.
Probably the monk.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because
what was it about the monk? Go on, you're going to say,
because he's so outrageous, isn't he? He says the stuff that other people wouldn't dare say, and he's so disdainful. And I love his character. And
it's. I'm just going to go into this just for 2 seconds, because another thing I'll just remind me that I loved about Subterfuge is the relationship between the monk and the Doctor. The fact they're antagonists, and it's not like we don't get like a big confrontation in the way that we get like a Master Doctor confrontation. Those scenes are always very intense, very massive, but with the monk, it's like a battle of wills. There's a playful element, almost a seriousness, because if Churchill doesn't do the speech he's supposed to do, it all goes to hell in a handbasket. But the Doctor is more like, well, I can do better than the monk. I can persuade Churchill more, and there's this kind of push and pull between them that sometimes goes to comedy, has its darker moments, but is never one thing or the. I absolutely loved it.
I was quite deliberately pitching it like that. I wanted it
came through then. I got it. Yes.
Well done. Because a lot of my training work is about influence. It's about how you use language to influence the other person, and that's what the Doctor obviously has to do with Churchill.
And it's very doctory as well, isn't it? You know, it's the sort of thing the doctor would do. You wouldn't pick up a gun and threaten somebody. It's how do I influence them? What can I do? What can I say?
Yeah.
And of course, the monk's trying to do his thing. Well, he's already got it. He's there first, and he's doing his thing already.
He's in there, being manipulative already. Yeah, it's a difference between manipulation, which comes from a dark objective, and positive influence, which comes from the light, really. So yeah, that's what I set out to do, and you picked up on it. So thank you.
Yay! No, thank you. I'm going to notch that one up as well. Next to my polymath, critical polymath. Yes.
So Cooper also asks, what is the process of creating an audio drama like, or more specifically, what is an average day like for you?
Well, in terms of directing, obviously I have to do the prep first, and that will take a couple of days, 2 or 3 days of reading the script, analysing the script, working out the schedule, putting the schedule in the right order so that people aren't hanging around, and anticipating how long each thing will take. Yeah. And then the casting process is quite laborious because I have to listen to lots of demos, unless I've got somebody in mind that I know already. And then I have to contact agents, blah, blah, blah. I have to email back and forth. And then
the drudgery of it all.
The drudgery. And then I have to keep a close check on what actions I've taken. And I have to keep the producer aware of all that.
That sounds suspiciously like a spreadsheet kind of thing.
Yeah, it's a bit of a spreadsheet job. Yes. And then on a directing day, just basically bring your schedule, turn up, meet everybody, have a cup of tea, talk to the engineer, no lunch, boring lunch. And then it's down to me to keep everything running on schedule. Yeah. Basically.
Have you ever had a day run over?
We've had loads of technical, horrifically awful technical stuff doing remote. And we've had some actors where their whole system has crashed and we've had to recast in that moment. Get someone in at the last minute. We've had people whose internet doesn't work and we've got glitches all the time. Sometimes an actor gets taken ill occasionally, and then they have to come in for a pickup day. So they'll come in, and we'll probably do that remotely. We'll have a remote engineer, and we'll just pick up their lines with someone reading in. So it doesn't always go according to plan.
No,
but it's how you cope with it, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's where the skill is.
Well, one of the best pieces of advice I ever had was from David Richardson. I was getting in a panic about Attagirl because I was producing it and we'd run over. I was late delivering certain elements of it, and I was panicking. And he wrote to me, he said, "It's just an audio drama. It's not like we're saving lives. It's not like we're doing brain surgery. It's just an audio drama. If it's late, we'll deal with it." I thought, there we go, a bit of perspective.
That's it.
Quite often,
deadlines
are fictional. I think sometimes, and you put this pressure on yourself and have this pressure put on you, and then actually, I've sent edits out to people, to a deadline. I don't hear anything back for 2 weeks. I think I don't think you really needed it then, did you?
Exactly. and it's having to balance your health. Because it does get enormously overwhelming and stressful.
That's so true.
What's more important, that we hit that deadline and I can't sleep for 3 nights in a row, or that I keep myself healthy and I can, and we flex a bit.
Yeah, and deliver it to the best as well. Rather than rushing and stressing on it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we had a question from Aidan, who's at Aidan CG01, and you answered this earlier. Really, he wanted to know what it was like working with Christopher Eccleston. So we beat you to it, Aidan.
Thanks, Aidan.
I loved it. I loved every second of it. I felt so lucky.
Yeah.
Do you know when does the new stuff start recording, or do you not know yet?
I'm not sure. I don't know, actually. I don't know.
Oh, okay.
The dates,
right. Yeah. And then there's a question here from Faith Trust and Pixie Dust. I always like hearing people's names on screen. And the handle is at Peter Pan's Girl 22. So she says, will there be any future audios with the Meta Crisis Doctor and Rose and with the Tylers? It would be lovely to see the more domestic side of the pair and how they managed since Journey's End.
Oh, I don't know the answer to that, but obviously there is more Rose Tyler coming, and I have directed that. So
the whole set.
the whole set.
Brilliant.
Wow.
And it's rather marvellous. Of course, I'm going to say that, but
not biased at all. No,
there are some really fantastic ideas and concepts in there.
I enjoyed the first set, and the way Clive was brought back into it as well.
Spoiler!
Well, I think he's on the box. I think.
Yeah.
I'm messing with your head.
Brilliant. Well, that's all the tweets that we had come in, and I think I haven't got any. Well, I've got loads of questions, but I'm sure we've all got things to get back onto today. Like whenever we talk to anyone, Paul, we're like, yeah, we could just keep going, couldn't we? But,
we could, because we don't have busy lives.
Well,
I've got a script to write. Yeah.
Oh wow, that sounds exciting. I love it. I wish I could just say something. I've got a script to write. I'd love to stay in chat, but I've got to, go and do something really creative instead. Rather than I've got a Zoom call in 5 minutes. With someone else. It's just really boring type thing. Although actually, we do write scripts occasionally, don't we, Jeff?
We do.
Stuff
Yeah.
Like that.
Yeah.
It's all good fun. That's brilliant. I just have to ask before you go, right? Because you did mention, and it is there right on your webpage and everything, right? It's there, and you said it. It's facts now. Okay. But musical theatre, right? Yes. What is your favourite musical? I have to ask.
Oh, that's a good question.
Well, it used to be Sunday in the Park with George by Stephen Sondheim. That's probably still very high on the list.
Yeah.
I love, there's an amazing musical called Once on This Island, which is set, I think, on somewhere like Martinique.
Right.
And the music in that is just so, it touches your soul. It's so perfect.
And what's that called? I don't know that one.
Once on This Island.
Once on This Island.
And all the music for Dear Evan Hansen is amazing.
Yeah.
Have you seen the film of it?
Not yet, no. I went to see the show quite recently.
Yeah, I've heard some of the music. My wife's got it on.
The music's amazing.
Yeah, I heard the film was not great. Maybe.
Yeah, I don't really know. But
then it might be the sort of thing that if you've already got the connection and enjoyment of the show itself, if the film will work for you, and it's.
I mean, I wasn't crazy about the show. I just love the music.
Right. Okay.
I find that actually because I mean, we all love a bit of musical theatre, and we've got a massive playlist between us of all kinds of musicals.
Oh, really?
Yeah, throughout the ages, but when it came to The Greatest Showman, I think I hadn't seen the film, and I had no wish to be honest. I was a bit up here a little bit. Oh, I don't need to see The Greatest Showman. It doesn't sound very good to me.
I will admit, I very much enjoyed that film.
But I have to say, right, I was introduced to it through the music because my girls kept playing it constantly back to back, and I found myself kind of singing it and getting uplifted by it, and it's and I saw the film. It's actually quite good fun, isn't it?
I enjoyed it. My wife and I went to see Hugh Jackman when he toured.
I saw that.
But you do like Hugh Jackman. You're a big Hugh Jackman.
I do like Hugh. Yeah,
anything he does, Jeff, is instantly 100% in your mind.
Yeah, and he was really good, wasn't he, Helen?
Amazing.
The show.
Yeah.
I was a bit miffed because we got stuck in traffic trying to get to. He was at the O2 in London, and he opened with The Greatest Show, and we bloody missed the opening.
Oh no!
I was disappointed. But he did a really long show, and he did some of his other musical stuff and a bit of his acting and things as well. He was, really a good showman.
Tour de force,
yeah. And then I tweeted about it afterwards, and he liked my tweet, so that was a bit of a win. Or his PR people did. I don't know.
No, it was Hugh.
It was Hugh. Yeah.
He does his own Twitter account. I don't know if he does. It'd be great to think of that. Oh, well, I've really enjoyed this chat.
Yes,
and
thank you.
Thank you so much for taking time out of your really busy day and delaying the start of your script writing just to talk to us.
Well, it's been another, really interesting chat, and hopefully inspiring for people. We had our chat with Pete Levy, the Flux producer, recently, and one of the guys that we know on Twitter, he tweeted Ethan, wasn't it, Paul? He said, he works at a post-production house in London, and he wants to kind of move up, do more. And he said, I really needed this. It's helped give me a bit of a pickup at the moment. So it's nice that it's one of the things we wanted to do with the podcast is talk about Doctor Who, but talk about with people like yourself about the wider picture. How do you get into the industry, and tips and advice and other work and things like that. So thank you. This has been really good.
Oh, my pleasure. No, it's been really good fun. Thank you both.
So we'll look forward to hearing what's next from you.
Yes, well, I'm sure it'll be announced soon.
Yes, yeah, we'll keep our eyes.
We're not going to get any spoilers here.
No, more than my job's worth.
Yeah, well, maybe if we cut recording now, we can. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Really, really appreciated your time, and thanks for sharing your stories with us.
Well, thank you for asking me. It's always very, it's just always nice to be asked. So thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right.